Meeting called to order at 7:03. Oops. I knew how to type. All right. So the first item is approval of meeting minutes from September 11th. Item.
What needs to be done to approve them?
We make a motion to approve. Somebody makes a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I make a motion to approve as written.
Okay. Anybody second?
Brad seconds.
Okay. Any comments or corrections? If not, then all those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Minutes approved. Sorry, just trying to take notes. Next on the agenda, citizens petitions and comments. Anything from any neighbors or any issues with the course that we've heard about?
Yes, the neighbors on 14 are continue to be concerned about the water coming off the course onto their property, and the town has we've hired a consulting firm to look at the problem and try to come up with a solution. And they continue to be concerned about golf balls hitting their house.
Is that one neighbor or is it multiple neighbors in that little complex that are complaining?
One neighbor.
That's not a shock. They shouldn't have bought a house on a golf course if they were really that worried about it then. That's my response to them. I would venture that 99.9% of the men's club would agree with me, if not 100%.
Oh,
Yep, but we'll see what the engineer says if there's something that can be done to move that water elsewhere. I'm assuming it's what's on the, as you're looking towards the green, what's on the left side of that mound that drains down into their space.
Yes, exactly.
well, I'm sure that has been running that way for decades and decades because there haven't been major changes to the course in that area at all. They chose to build a house there. I'm surprised that we're spending taxpayer money on an assessment. Why are we doing this? Is it because we're legally obligated to? I mean, I'm just curious as to how this evolved.
I think we're trying to be good neighbors.
Yeah.
And, you know, like you said, the water's been draining into that property for a long time, apparently.
Probably a century.
Probably over a century.
That's right.
Probably they've changed the land to build a house also.
Right.
Remove some topsoil, yeah, all the kinds of things builders do. Okay, anyone else?
I don't have anything else. Course is in great shape for this time of year. That's for sure.
Agreed.
Excellent. All right. Next is new correspondence. Communication. So we have the communication from, oh, I gotta do this too. From the Shennecossett Women's Golf Association. Let me just move it over so I can closer to the camera. So Marie reports that the end of the season awards banquet was held on Saturday, September 30th. Once again, the ABCD scramble that was to be held prior to the banquet was rained out, just like it was in the spring. It was a happy conclusion to a very successful season. Our appreciation to Todd, Eric, Tim, and the Rangers, the Shennecossett maintenance staff, the Par 4 staff, and all others whose work supports the SWGA League. The semi-annual membership meeting was held on October 3rd, 2023. Several course members who were present agreed that they would like to see more flexibility and opportunity for weekend morning tee times. I think that was discussed at the meeting in September. A request was made to consider building steps to the green tee box on hole number 13. Similar to what the white and blue tee box has on that hole, it is a steep climb for some of our older or less able players. Just a suggestion. There will be a holiday gathering for all SWGA members on Tuesday, December 12th at Par 4. And several members continue to play through the winter. We appreciate the work the maintenance department for the good shape that the course is actually in. And that's submitted by Marie on behalf of the SWGA. I'd also like to report, unfortunately, I was out of town, so I'm not exactly sure all the details. But one of our long-standing SWGA members passed away in the middle of November. And again, that was Amy Almond. It feels like
And
we're on a
former
run
president
here.
of your association, by the way.
Yeah, it's before my time, so that's
Yeah.
great. No. She's a longtime member that every year when you saw her sign up, you were very happy to see that she continued to play as best she could. And very sad thing that happened. So yes,
Agreed.
thank you for that, former president. But I just want to acknowledge her passing as
Right.
well, kind of like what we did in the meeting in September or in June.
So she had in the last 2 years, she had her health issues.
Yeah.
But apparently she did not pass because of those.
Yep.
She just happened to pass in her sleep.
Ugh.
So, yeah.
I mean, just sad. I was very sad
Yep.
when I read that when I was out in California.
Yeah, she was a friend of the course and a friend of the association, yours.
Yep.
And yeah. Yeah. She was great.
We kind of need that to stop. If anybody has any control over that. That's 3 people this year.
Yeah, yep.
Margaret, I do have some updated communications from the Public Works Director.
Okay, great.
The first has to do with the R4 bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
They went out to bid, I think in the fall, and all the bids came in higher than what was budgeted, to the tune of about $280,000. So the Public Works Director and I went to the council and requested additional money for that project, and also for the we're making some renovations, ADA renovations to the bathroom at Calvin Burrows, which is where the Youth Little League plays. And we went to the council requesting an additional, it was 400,000, and they approved that. And we also went to the RTM and they've approved that. So we're moving forward. Public Works is currently working to get a signed contract from the contractor. Mattern Construction, Mattern. They expect that, are hoping that construction will begin in February.
Excellent.
Great.
The other update that I have is to the maintenance building and the bathroom. The architects are finalizing plans. Because it is in the city, they need to go through the permitting process with the city. And they would expect to go out to bid in the spring and construction to start sometime this summer.
We're in February.
Margaret, you're having some connectivity issues, I think.
R4. Yeah, more
Yeah.
than likely.
We lost
Yeah.
it.
And
for-
I'm typing at the same time, so I'm sure my typewriter, I can't go on mute, obviously, so having a wee bit of a conflict here with noise. All right, so contract is going for the bathrooms, going to Mattern Construction, and the anticipated date of completion.
That I don't have. The anticipated start date was February.
Perfect.
And that is somewhat dependent on the contractor's schedule, what other projects they have lined up. But,
Okay.
and did you get the information about the other project?
Yeah, the Calvin Burrows.
No, the maintenance building.
Yeah, I got
And
it. I got
oh, okay.
that. I have
Okay.
par 4 bathrooms. I have Calvin Burrows, ADA adjustments, and I have the maintenance building, which I think is huge. That
Yeah.
poor building. I'm surprised it's still standing. I mean, every time I drive by, I shake my head. I'll let you know. Poor thing. Okay. Excellent. Any other communication correspondence? This is great.
Just a more positive story. from the passing of one of our men's club members that was a little over a year ago, Chris Thompson. We organized the troops and we ran a charity fundraising tournament to raise money for his daughter. And Dan, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I want to say it was something like $4,500 we raised.
Yeah, I heard between 5,000 and 7,000, but a good number any way you cut it.
Excellent.
And that'll go to his daughter.
All to his daughter. Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
Pretty cool though. Chris Wojcik, one of probably his best friend before he passed away, was the guy that organized the whole thing. But the men's club stepped up right away and gave a ton of support, which was good to see.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Move on to reports. Start with the golf course report. Reports.
Okay, so the report there, most of you who are members, well, you're members, so you know that we have a new staff member, and so I continuing to instruct him as far as keeping up with reporting. You notice the total rain events. Well, you can see, back up, the monthly revenue, we're shy of what was last year. But by looking at the Z reports from the individual days, we have, my estimation, 5 additional rain events that are not recorded, and I'm sorry, 4 that are not recorded, and 3 of those were actually on the weekend. And you guys remember we did have rain on the weekend.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so that number is not correct. But if you go down to the summary at the bottom, we're still very well advanced of what last year was, and last year was an all-time record, by the way. The average revenue per round, you'll see, is a lot higher than what has been, because we don't have to discount. And so we have not. And so, and people are not, they're not batting an eyelash. They're just paying the going rate. And that's a good thing. And I think moving forward, Eric is moving the tees up. I was not there today, so Eric, you were going to start moving the tees up today.
Yeah, we did everything today for that.
Yep. So Eric and I are going to discuss, and Mark are going to discuss what kind of rate structure we're going to have through the winter months. But it's not going to be a deep discount. It's not going to be a discount like we had in years past. So I think we're very nicely positioned from a revenue standpoint for this year. And if anybody has any questions, I'll try to address them.
Charge as much as you can, Todd. That's my advice.
And we do. Thanks, Dan, for that.
No, I 100% with Dan.
Yeah.
No, right. No,
The guy-
exactly right.
People that are going to play in the winter months, they'll pay what they have to pay. They're not going to be bargain hunters for sure.
No, exactly right, Dan. You're right, and Margaret, you're right. Our golf course is open. Our greens are open. We have forward tees, but regular tees. And everybody else's golf course, for the most part, is closed. And so, if they want to play, then they're going to pay.
Perfect.
Yep. Excellent. Okay. I think the next is the marketing report.
Yeah, there's no report
No
for this
worries.
meeting.
I see a lot of sharing of Thursday posts in particular by a lot of different people. The numbers seem to be going up. Where you found that Golf Digest cover, not sure, Eric, but pretty cool.
Pretty awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah, that one got shared a lot. So I think
It's
that was
funny if
very,
you look at the bunker left of the old 18th green to what it looks like now. It's crazy.
yeah. I liked it.
Yeah, keep those coming. I think people really enjoy those.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw, but the day contracted with newspapers.com, they digitized their entire library of newspapers going back to the late 1800s. So now I have a whole new resource to dig
Oh,
through,
wow.
and I'm sure we're going to find a lot of new stuff.
Did not know that. That's awesome.
That's pretty
Just
cool.
waiting for the library to get me a way to get in, and then I'll start digging.
Almost a reason for me to get back on Facebook.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it.
But that's actually very cool to know, especially if the library makes it available. There's a lot of history in that paper, not just the golf course that I think would be really related to the golf course around it, the houses and things like that, that I think would be fascinating to try and track down. No, that's cool. So cool. Okie Status of goals and objectives.
We continue to work on our goals and objectives, improving player experience. We invested quite a bit of money this spring to make improvements and have more planned for the coming year and next fiscal year. We continue to maintain a sound fiscal position, and Eric continues to protect golf course, the environment through best management practices, specifically being part of the Audubon program.
And Eric, you just renewed that, did you not?
I'm in the process. We haven't been recertified yet. they've got all the information that they need though, so it's in their hands just to go through it and get back to me.
Great.
Cool. All right, very good. We'll look forward to seeing the updated goals and objectives and the results of this year at a upcoming meeting, sorry. Long day. All right. Unfinished business. Course irrigation.
Yeah, I can comment on that real quick because I think I'm the one that brought it up. So two things. At one point, there were some complaints by some of the men's club about starting to be concerned about conditions of the course, although upon further conversation, it became pretty evident that the only real challenges there were, or I should say the main challenges there were the holes that are less mature, meaning the ones that were rebuilt by Pfizer. So I think that's a very fair point. You know, most of the course holds up extremely well. Only question I had, and Mark, I know you had shared the consulting project that was done back in the late 90s about looking for a self-contained irrigation system. And that report was pretty good, and it was interesting to read it. And the only thing it's said that I don't know if it was ever done, well, it recommended that the course continue to water the way they currently do. It also advised that the course start looking into the actual well studies. And I'm curious if that was ever actually done.
Not that I'm aware of. Eric was able to pull this out, I think prior to the last meeting when I had shared this. But I think the feeling is we have a very reliable source of water, and investing money in something, in a project that there's no guarantees, I think that's why we haven't pursued this further. As far as watering of the course, I mean, Eric could speak to that. I don't think that's changed, but I'll let Eric speak to that.
No, nothing has changed in that regard.
May be impossible for you to make a judgment call on this, Eric, but do you have any thoughts on what can or can't be done to 16 and 17 fairways to maybe make them in a little bit better shape next year?
Yeah, we've started slicing and seeding them. We'll continue to do that in the spring. We'll get some fertilizer out on those fairways, maybe bump up my nitrogen on those 3 fairways to get them to move a little better, and just get the seed popping, and hopefully we don't have any droughts, because they stripped all the topsoil down there when they built the holes. There's no topsoil.
Yeah.
So once the gravel and the rocks heat up underneath there in the hot day, it burns really fast.
Yep.
And if you're not getting supplemental rainfall and timely and good amounts, you can irrigate till the cows come home, but it's just not going to do anything. You got to have that natural rain to really flush everything. But yeah, like I said, I'm looking to increase the soil, the slicing, seeding, and increasing my fertilization practices down there, and see what we can do.
I think that's all anybody can ask for right now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other comments on that?
just some context about that is they stripped all the topsoil from those two holes to build up number 2 fairway, which was always a sloppy mess because it was so low. And the reasoning was when they put in on the hitting area that we have now, when they put in the driving range, they were going to strip the topsoil there and put it back on 16 and 17. But between the two projects, the driving range was nixed because our neighbors said no.
Interesting.
What was their reasoning?
Because they were concerned that cars would be hit, and so they said, well, if you're going to put a driving range on that area, you're going to have to erect 100-foot or whatever, a very high net in order to make sure that nothing gets, no cars, no person, no pedestrians get hit. And so there was enough of a well, it kind of caused a stir, and the powers that be at the time in the town said, okay, no, we're saying no to that.
Okay.
Interesting. All right, season pass holders.
Okay, so what about the season pass holders are we wanting this discussion to turn to and focus on?
So if I recall from the meeting in September, there were a couple of key points that came out. One was the ability to get tee times, set tee times related to phones not being answered, or just a general, like on the weekends in particular for the folks who are paying full ride, a general lack of tee times available before noon. Or before 10 or 10, I think, actually.
Right. So early in September, we changed the time that members could call in from
Dropped it from 5 to
change
4.
those times.
Yep.
Correct.
From 4 to 5.
Because from 5 to 4, because at 5 o'clock we're inundated with play, and when we have 20 people in front of us, there's only one person on the desk, and so it was a challenge, and so we changed. And 2 weeks later, we changed the time that non-members could book to, they can book at 6 o'clock at night, online only. And so that kind of relaxed things. And but it's an issue. We are going to have the discussion about number of members, and we're going to have to entertain the idea maybe of of having a moratorium on new membership. Just throwing it out there. I mean, as an option. But there needs to have something done, because last year when we had 403 members, there really wasn't the issue. Now we have 450 some odd, and it has become an issue. So we are going to have a discussion. Also, during that time, I on the weekends, I interspersed starter times and through the morning, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, and instructed my staff to allow booking on those until the day before for members. So if a member calls and they say, "Oh my God, I forgot, and do you have anything?" Well, of course we don't, because after the first day, our first available in season is 2:30 in the afternoon. However, with starter times, we have flexibility so that we can take care of our members. And also beyond that, being that we have a 10-minute interval start, 6 tee times per hour as opposed to the 7 tee times per hour. I work on Saturday morning, Sunday morning, and if a member calls me, even if the starter times are taken, I just ask them, "When do you want to play?" And they'll tell me, and I say, "Have your people come out," and I will get them going. And I'm able to fill them in, because the golf course really does perform at 7 tee times per hour. 6 tee times per hour, one gets the feeling that the golf course is not busy. Well, that's far from the reality of it, because by Saturday and Sunday, our first available is after 4:30. So
I think the 10-minute tee times need to stay, because that has increased our pace of play, and we've seen results
yes,
from that
I agree with
on
you.
the whatchamajigget, the survey in the past. So I
Right.
think that has been a good practice, and completely would support it.
And it certainly isn't hurting our revenue,
here's-
by the way.
Right, so that we have 450 odd members, and we had a large increase in the number of associate and associate plus members who get to compete and play at any time, including in the mornings on.
Yeah, but that's not happening though.
Okay, no, I'm just throwing it out. I'm just throwing out as possible things. But I also know that I have shown up on a Sunday periodically, and 3 of the reserved tee times, people are not showing up. And so you seem to have, I mean, one of the questions I always have is, how are we going to address people not showing up or not calling in for their tee times?
Well, Margaret, I mean, that historically has always been a problem. However, at this golf course, the no-shows, they're rare at our golf course. I mean, they are rare. And actually, to be honest with you, the no-shows tend to happen from our members.
Yep.
Our members, they book a time and then they don't show up for their time. And so the next time I see the member, I say, "You missed your tee time." "Oh, gee, I forgot to to cancel the time. And so, yeah, so it is an issue, and we're telling our members when that happens. So just to let you know, Mark asked me to run some numbers, and from August through mid-September, I looked at Saturday and Sunday bookings until 12 o'clock, and only 3% of the tee times were taken by associate or associate plus, and only 3% of those playing were 3% among associate and associate plus. So, I mean, that really is not the issue. The issue, it really is that we have a lot of members, and we're going to have a discussion about that.
Yes, we will.
And
I don't remember the exact numbers, but I did look into it back midsummer to get an idea of the membership at other courses in the area. And 415 and 450 is just enormous. So I'm with you 100%, Todd. Should put the kibosh on that.
Dan, so much that I understand, talking with some members of New London, great Nick.
Yep.
That they have north of 450, and the owner Mortimer is going to jack the prices because he wants to get the number down to around 400. And so they're going to be doing that this year, and it's going to be a surprise to many of their members. There are.
I also know
Four seems comfortable. 450 is uncomfortable.
Well, I also know parenthetically from the Norwich Shenny Open that we do, I've talked to a number of the Norwich guys that join Norwich instead of Shenny because it's just much easier to get a tee time at Norwich, not even on the weekends. But then, you know, Shenny, for better or for worse, gets all the EB business and a lot of tournament play and other stuff, which can make it challenging. Todd, I wanted to make sure I understood one of the other things you said correctly, though. So you're saying if, for example, we made a rule that says on Saturday and Sunday, all the tee times from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. have to be held by full members. You're saying that's not going to really make a difference?
No, well, the data doesn't bear that out, because associate and associate plus only accounted for 3% of the tee times that were taken.
And they are approximately 10% of the total membership. So they're not using.
Right.
But
you know,
how many of the 7 to 10 then are taken by complete non-members entirely?
Oh, well, I mean, that's now you're getting into a different story, Dan, because when the golf course was purchased in cooperation with the state back in 60, whatever it was, the stipulation was that all tee times would be made available to everyone, regardless of member or non-member, resident or non-resident, always. So I think
That's like a constitutional change then that would need to happen.
We're into an area that has been discussed before, by the way. I mean, over the years, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But for that reason, it was not entertained. There are other things that, you know, we can explore other things, but for instance, just on the idea of the the moratorium for new members. We attrit about 10% of our membership in a year, and that would be 45. That would be of 450. That'd be 45, and that would bring us down to 400. I don't know that that's a thing that that we want to do, or that you want to entertain the idea of, but I don't think that we can just say non-members can't play here until after 10 o'clock. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't think that that's the way to go. My opinion.
One other question that you're making me think about too is you mentioned that non-members can book online at like 6 o'clock or later. They book online only. Would it make
That's correct.
Would it make life easier on your staff if we said all tea times had to be booked online, and you make the members access turn on at 4 and non-members turn on at 6?
Well, here's the thing about that, Dan, is the system doesn't sort between member and non-member. Doesn't.
Oh, I agree.
And so
it would take a website upgrade for sure.
the current system that we have, the Chelsea system, does not have the capability of I've explored that with the IT director of Chelsea Systems, and that option is not available.
Can I make
But
a suggestion on that?
I'm
What
sorry?
would be really cool is at a future golf advisory board meeting, if Chelsea Systems was invited to come and give a demo of their system and how it could work, and get some feedback from us on what our requirements are.
It's a great
Well,
idea.
they're Florida based, and
Well, I mean,
and if
dial in
they're-
through Zoom. We're remote, they can be remote.
Well, if there are any specific questions, I can certainly, I have a relationship with the IT director, and I can, you know, if there's a dire need, I mean, they do come up when we were entertaining the idea of having them as our POS system, they did come up and did make a presentation about it. But as far as just questions, as far as, you know, what the capabilities are, this, that, and whatever, if you all have questions about it and you want answers about capabilities, then I will contact Teresa, their IT director, and I will get every answer that you're wanting. But what I was thinking is that maybe this body should maybe entertain the idea of moving up when non-members can book. And instead of having the book, you know, 7 days out, maybe make it 6 days out, or you can make it 5 days out. So that
I think a number of the members would like to book. 7 days is fine. I think they'd like to be able to book online. Then maybe I can work with Marie, Eric, Brad, and Dan, and we can come up with that list of questions for you to get responses.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And Margaret, Eric, Todd, and I at our last meeting also talked about, because there's other issues with the Chelsea system that have been identified beyond not recognizing members and non-members. And we are intending to put out an RFP and look towards migrating to a different software.
Do you know when the last time was that you talked to Chelsea about their capabilities?
Oh, I talked to them, I talked to them this past year.
I mean, because I'm on per their website, their product is fully cloud-based and fully sortable by a variety of different parameters. I just don't think they'd be in business if you couldn't sort Tetons by member versus non-member.
Well,
It could be a new functionality.
No, but they can't, the system doesn't differentiate a number. Each person has a number. A member has a 4-digit number. A non-member has a phone number, you know, and so, but the system can't sort the two out. And I've gone around with them a couple times about that, and it's just they're just not able at this point to do that.
wow, I'm surprised that, that especially since the website prompts you to go through either a login or a non-member login. I would think that they would be able to, okay, the member login spot is available an hour before the non-member login portion. Yeah.
But there's a workaround about that. If we're letting members book a time 7 days out, and we say non-members can book, we can say that online booking can happen 5 days out, or they can call, but when they call, we'll say, "Are you a member?" No, we're not. Well, you can book 5 days out. So that's a workaround that is an easy workaround, and my staff will do that. Could do that tomorrow.
Yeah, it's sort of a bridging action to whatever the final solution is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but that would solve getting members in on Saturday and Sunday before 12 o'clock. I don't know if 5 is the number, maybe 6 days out is the number. I don't know. But if you disable the online booking until 5 days out and they have to call, then my staff will say, "Are you a member? Are you a non-member?" And they'll say, "Well, I'm non-member." Well, you can book on Wednesday or what have you. So there are ways to work around. We just have to go ahead and have a discussion about it, and decide, and then move forward with it and do it.
I have a question on members. What percentage are limited play category members?
Clarence, I don't have that on the top of my head, but I would say the majority category are senior. That's limited. There are not so many adult economy, which is Monday through Friday, like a senior, limited category. Generally, those who our full members are working folks who are paying the full price. And I'll get back, Mark, I'll get back with this body with that number. But I would say probably, well, I'm sure that it's less than 50%. Maybe it's around 40%.
I mean, that limits the competition for members on weekends. Weekend mornings, anyway.
No, that's right.
No.
Because the total full members are the ones that are competing on weekends. And I think that's the critical number to look at.
Oh,
The
wait a minute. Hold.
No, the,
full members and the associates.
Yeah, look, on the unlimited play category, rather, I'll call it
Yeah.
unlimited play
Oh, yeah.
category. That's the number that's competing for those morning tea times on weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
Actually, the one to bring up is the June report, which Mark, I think you sent, provided in September.
monthly report?
Yeah, the June monthly report. It would have come in July sometime. Because that's the one that has an idea of the full fiscal year.
Yeah, Margaret, I don't have that in my folder.
Yeah, I can't seem to find it either. So it would be the June report. It was probably provided in July or August. So I have the July revenue report, I have the August revenue report, but I don't have the June one.
I can get that out to everybody.
Okay. I think that one gives us the best sense of what the year looked like.
Yes.
All right. So I think that was a good discussion. It feels like we have some additional work to do. If you're going to put an RFP out, perhaps some folks from the Golf Advisory Board could help with writing the requirements or the RFP, or just reviewing it, just to make sure
Yeah.
we're covering all the functionality that would make some of these things that we're requesting, like being able to split the member availability of timing for tea times versus the non-members, things like that.
Yeah, I think that's a terrific idea.
Cool. Okay.
I would just like to say, because I have benefited from it, when you don't have a tea time, Todd does do his absolute best to get people out. So I know it's not always easy, but it is appreciated.
We take care of our peeps.
And I appreciate the work you guys do to keep the course open all winter.
There you go. Clarence, you're a winter guy?
Oh yeah, I play more in the winter than I do in the summer.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, the summer there's a lot of competition from.
Okay, so apologies. I think my internet just dropped and came back. All right. New business, meeting dates.
So historically, we have, or for the last couple of years, we've met twice in February. Those dates this year would be the 5th and the 8th. The 5th is a GAB meeting. The 8th is with the Parks and Rec Commission, and that's usually where the discussion takes place about the rates. There's typically a meeting in April, which would be April 8th. June, which would be June 3rd. September, which
What
would be
date,
the
what date
9th.
is the recreation meeting?
The 8th of February. It's Thursday.
Okay. The 8th, oh, the first, it would be the 1st and the 8th? No.
No, 5th.
Oh, same week. Okay, got it. Sorry. And then April 9th? No,
April 8th.
Okay.
June 3rd.
September.
September 9th.
Oh, you skip October, so November.
Yeah, November 4th.
And then December.
2nd.
Okay. So I think for those, and welcome Marie, by the way, we don't have to vote on those, do we?
Well, if
I think so.
there are members of the GAB that wish to
Yeah.
make a change, I mean, now would be the time to say something and have a discussion. But if everybody's happy with that, then no, I just need to report that to the town clerk.
Okay.
And I'm assuming 7 o'clock
Mhm.
and continue virtual meetings.
Yes.
On a personal
Works for
note, I just want to say I've been reelected to my 5th two-year term on the RTM. And I'll continue to be an advocate for the golf course and for Parks and Rec in general. Because I believe that really adds to the town.
Thank you, Clarence. Your check is in the mail.
Yeah, I appreciate that. If it wasn't for graft and corruption, I wouldn't do it.
Will you continue to represent the RTM to this board, or will you be replaced?
We're gonna have a new, moderator this year. Joe Rusk has moved on to the town council. So I have no idea who wants to run for moderator, and they generally get to pick who goes where.
Okay.
I actually checked with the town clerk, and I could be a regular member of the, if I ever get around to putting an application in. There's no conflict with this committee and the RTM.
Okay. Okay. Well, hopefully, Clarence, we get you back some way, shape, or form. All
Thank you
right.
for that vote of confidence.
All right, next one is 2024 golf rates.
So this is usually the beginning of the discussion where the Golf Advisory Board has a general discussion about what kinds of rates they want to see. And I've prepared, you've had discussions about, well, maybe we want to increase certain membership rates by this percentage. We want to increase our daily fees by maybe this percentage or whatever. But this is the usual discussion, and what I do is then I prepare a what if sheet for you all to reflect what you want to see, what you want things to look like.
I just like to ask, because my experience hasn't been that long on the board, but is there a long range plan where there's alternating years? So if memberships were raised, even years, odd years would be walk-in rates, or is there any kind of a plan like that, or pattern? I think there was some conversation a bit about that we wouldn't raise all categories at the same time last year, but just asking if there is an established pattern or either by plan or by default for how rates are raised.
Well, Marie, historically with alternated years is what we've done. That's, well, rephrase. That's what the board has done, is they'll authorize or suggest a rate increase and then approve a rate increase, and then the next year they won't improve, they won't suggest a rate increase. So it tends to be every other year, but I mean, everything is up in the air.
And Marie, there's actually been some stretches where rates didn't increase at all. So
Right.
there's the only consistency I think is that it has alternated, but it doesn't occur every single year. And what makes it a little tricky is at this time of year, we have very few numbers to look at what our expenses are going to be, because that does play into this. And a lot of the numbers we don't get until a couple of months from now, health insurance and things like that. And that does play into what we charge.
And
And
also,
much has it,
I was gonna say, it's the town manager's budget. How does that influence the rate, if it does
Well,
affect the rates? How we think about them?
Yeah, the town manager's budget, we present a budget to the town manager. And generally, because this is a special revenue fund, he does not touch that because this is a self-supporting fund. So he typically would not cut anything from this budget that was presented to him.
So going back to the end of the fiscal year last year, how did we balance out revenue versus expenses on the golf course?
we made money.
Our revenue exceeded our expenses. So we added additional money into the fund balance.
Right.
But
And I-
really, the issue that we have to be most concerned about is what our competition is doing and how we're positioned in our market. And so, as Mark said, the timing can be problematic because usually Elm Ridge, Norwich, they declare their rates after we do, and so there we are. I mean, we declare our rates, and then they say, oh well, Shenny's doing that. Well, we're going to do this, and so we don't have the benefit of. I can't, and this is what I do for the golf rates. I provide the GAB with a sheet of what our competition is charging compared to what we charge, and so you can get some context, and so we do have to be sensitive to what our competition does, what our competition charges. I know that, and I know you all know that Norwich jacked their rates up quite a bit this year, and the membership. So we are quite a discount compared to our competition with regard to our membership, and also to a certain extent with our daily fees.
My personal opinion is, given the economic conditions of the world right now, you'd be hard pressed to get a big increase in membership rates. But I also think with the desire to reduce the number of members, it may not make a lot of sense to reduce membership rates, but I would be a big vote for keeping all membership rates the same and jack up the daily fee players. That's a biased opinion, but it at face value seems to make logical sense to me.
Well, you all can tell me, what kind of numbers you want me to provide for you. What kind of percentage raise do you want? What kind of fees do you want me to raise? Do you want me to raise all fees? Do you want me to raise youth fees? So, yeah. I mean, last year we eliminated a lot of categories of daily fees, and we've been charging basically, which is why we have a high average revenue per round figure. Is we've eliminated the after 12, and so we're charging full rate throughout the day until, and the only time we come off that is when somebody wants to play 9 holes, and they can play 9 holes in the afternoon. So that's it, after 3 o'clock. Anyway, so I can do a what if on whatever you all want to see.
So I think Dan is recommending that it's the greens fees that go up this year. And perhaps
Okay, all fees across the board?
No, my vote is for the daily play, the daily rate.
Yeah, those are the
to go
greens
up
fees.
and membership to stay the same. That would be my vote.
Yeah, the daily fees.
Yep.
I don't reckon
I'm sorry, can you explain the rationale again behind that?
Simply that it's a tough economic time. I think it's bound to get worse through the first quarter. And I don't think you want to take that out on your membership, but we also don't want an increased membership, as we discussed earlier. So to me, it seems like the fair thing to do would be keeping all the membership rates the same and then increasing the daily rate cost. Maybe it reduces slightly the amount of the general public non-members who play the course, which helps ease the burden of booking tee times a little bit too.
Don't you think that would cause more people to become members?
I don't,
think
only
the other
because I think
conversation that
there's
needs
so
to be
many
had-
other things that people think about before joining a golf course. That if you, what are we daily rate right now? 50 or 60 bucks on a weekend?
55.
55. So if you bumped it from 55 to 60,
Mhm.
and someone plays 20 times over the course of a summer, are they gonna, oh, that extra $100 is gonna kill me, I'm gonna spend instead 1,700 to be a full-time member? I don't think it's gonna happen.
Are there any
Okay.
continuing capital improvement projects that would be funded by course revenue that we should be aware of, or just think about the great job they did on the bunkers this year? Is there another CIP or course improvement project slated for next year that we should consider as we think about rates? Do we need to fund?
Yes, and I think I shared that at the last meeting. And next year we have budgeted $629,000 to renovate bunkers.
And where does that money come from, Mark? Is it from-
Well, in the past, it has come from the tax dollars, but I think I'm waiting to hear back to get some numbers from the town manager, but I'm pretty sure that ship has sailed. And increasingly there's been discussions in the RTM about why are we funding the golf course? And I think they're going to be we're either gonna have to scale way back on the work that we're doing, or the golf course is gonna have to start paying a greater percentage for capital improvement projects.
That's what I'm driving at, 'cause I recall that. So just my own thought is, we should be looking at the revenue we need to continue the quality of the golf course, or the maintenance of the golf course, in one particular approach to whether or not we need to raise rates. And what is the project for next year, and how much would, say, if the town backs off 50%, 100% from funding, or what would we need to have in our projected revenue to keep the maintenance of the course on track?
Over the last couple of years, we have generated excess revenue between 150 and 250,000. So the fund balance is close to 900,000 now. We do have to maintain a 60-day operating allowance, just in the event of some kind of disaster that, could close the golf course for a couple of months. So, 629,000, we could fund that entire thing this year, but then that would leave us with not a whole lot for future projects. It would take a couple of years before we could, I think, fully fund the projects that are planned for FYE 26, which is 507,000. And then there's, for FYE 27, it's 575. For FYE 28, it's 507, and then in FYE 29, and these are current numbers, once is 1.8 million. So, if we don't continue to generate that amount of revenue, we cut back on the number of season pass holders, and make some of these other moves, then the projects that you've seen take place are going to slow down considerably.
But I think that makes the case for raising the daily fees, to make sure that there's an offset. There's a demand for playing golf by people, and people will pay $60 on a weekend to play golf. People have the option during the week to play for less. They can come and play 9 holes. There's lots of different fee, even though we got rid of a lot last year, there's still options there for people to come and play golf at a reasonable rate.
So if we go $60 greens fee, then that means there were $80 with a cart.
Yep. And people will do it. It's kind of crazy.
I think we should go that route, and if we found we've made a mistake, we can always back off, next year. But I think it's, my focus is keeping the course, improving, and not letting it go for years and then cause bigger problems, or lose the quality of the course that attracts members in. We don't want to lose that good balance that we have. People come because they like.
Yeah, course improvements they don't come from our revenues. Our revenues throughout the year is for our operational expenses, and so we do well covering that. And so for always, we have looked to monies from the town for the big projects, Because the big projects can't come from the month to month of a year revenues. That doesn't work.
But
Oh.
didn't Mark just say that the town may be backing off from funding those big projects? Is that-
Right, but then that will come from our fund balance, which is not from our daily, our month to month per year revenues. That it wouldn't come
Mark,
from
is that
that.
right?
The additional revenue that we make during the course of the year goes into fund balance. That fund balance is what I believe the town is going to be
Yep.
looking for the golf course to pay for capital improvement projects.
Yeah, no, and that's what I thought I'd heard you say. So as long as
Yep.
there's a strategy to, if you've got an excess of revenue, which, I mean, you said this year we're already ahead of last year. We finished 23 ahead of 22. You know, if we increase some of these rates, we increase our revenue. We don't, the caveat here is we don't know what our expenses are quite yet. But
Right.
it feels like our goal here is to keep that fund balance in the positive and available, with the caveat that you need some emergency. We saw that a couple of years ago when the fund balance went into the hole. Have seen that. So, you know, it's really about trying to protect and manage that and be able to leverage it going forward without the support of the town for some of the CIP projects. I think we need to take a look at this as a strategy.
$80 with a cart puts us square in the middle of River Ridge and Norwich for their non-resident fees, which is about where we should sit, in my opinion.
Especially given the quality of the course.
Oh yeah, it's still a deal. It's absolutely still a deal.
And we can't, I think as a board, we really have to protect that quality of the course. And reality is if the town backs off from CIP funding, it is going to come from the revenue in the form of the
It'll come from the fund balance.
fund balance, right? Which is,
I think we need to compare membership rates too, because we've been historically lower than any other course in the area.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. At some point, our membership rates need to increase appropriately. But again, you know, looking at expenses, it's hard. I agree with Mark. If the expense budget numbers don't come until after we have to produce the fees, we kind of get stuck. Unless we can do some sort of interim thing, but
The
But-
bottom line is going to be what the town decides to do with capital money for the golf course in the future.
Yep.
If they decide that they don't want to help preserve the asset that they have, we will burn through our fund balance relatively quickly, or like Mark said, we're going to have to stop doing projects to make sure we're sitting on enough money for what inevitably is down the road. Is you know, we're not going to top every year after. So it's going to change eventually. And we had the COVID bump, and that's where we're at now.
what
But-
is the strategy for, right? So then what is your strategy for making sure that the funding is even in the back? I mean, that's really what I would look to you, Eric.
Yeah, I
as
mean, the
superintendent,
strategy
and
now
Todd, and-
is, you know, until we know what the town is going to do, you know, and we got X number of dollars in our fund. I mean, we're not going to spend 600 something thousand on a project next year. There's no way you can do it. So we'll
No.
pick and choose what's important, and you know, we'll be back to where we were before COVID, trying to get 50 grand a year to do 4 bunkers.
I don't know much about the politics of the town of Groton, but I'm curious. And maybe it wouldn't make any significant financial difference either, but what if you started charging a premium, or instead you gave a discount to Groton town residents who wanted to play daily fees versus someone traveling from out of state, make the out of staters pay an extra $10?
No, that already
We do.
exists.
That already exists. All right. We'll make them pay an extra 10 on top of that.
Yeah, basically, there's like a 10% discount for residents, military, from the rec rate published. So we do offer a discount for residents and military. And first responders, and yeah.
I assume too that we're gonna take the cart rates up to 20 or whatever the number is across the board this year.
I
If we
would not
can.
recommend that we increase the cart rates any for this year.
Right, but the,
We
that
increased them
before,
last year.
that before 8 o'clock or before 9 o'clock senior thing, we can eliminate
Yeah,
that
we
this year, attempt to eliminate that this year.
Yeah,
We
that,
tried to
that's,
do that this year.
that will be the key word, is attempt. And we'll go through the exercise of being reprimanded for not considering seniors.
Yeah, there were some members that politicked hard for not doing that.
Absolutely.
And then they go into par 4 afterwards and have 3 drinks at $20.
I was
Oh,
going
there we
through
are.
some stuff that I have, and I found the rate sheet from 1991. And the cart rate is exactly the same.
Yeah.
And the senior cart before 9 o'clock was $15, which we just moved to this year.
Wow.
What was the price of gas in 1991?
I'm guessing considerably cheaper.
Yeah, probably in the $1.50 to $2 range.
I mean, the other
Right.
option would be you could just say screw it and say just across the board, 5% increase in everything, deal with it, people, and see what impact it has.
I'd still take the greens fees up to a round number like 55 for 18 during the week and
Yep.
60.
I'm one of the ones with the
but
most expensive
increase the
membership in
tournament
the
rates
course
too.
with the non-resident
Yep.
over 40, and it's a $85 bump for the course of the year. It doesn't strike me as a lot.
No, I think might be all right with that too. Yeah, the adult regular could go to 1,600, something like that. Military regular to 14, associate to 1,000, associate plus to 1,250, something along those lines.
Mhm.
Just round them up. Didn't we last year have to do that senior family rate? It was $5 less.
Yeah, that is
Yep.
gonna come up again,
Yep.
guaranteed.
I don't know if you guys are looking at the rates or not. I can share them. A little bit. So these are the current season pass rates. I think you're right, Dan. It's like, take this to 85.
Yep, 1785. Which $85 again over a calendar year.
Yep,
It's still a deal.
1600 maybe. This is what I was talking about. Maybe taking the associate here to 1,000, associate plus to 1250, 5% or to 1200, and then take that up a little bit, 975 maybe. I mean, that's $55 over a year. Same thing, not too much of a hit. They play 50 rounds, it's an extra dollar a round. So certainly could consider. And maybe these go up just a wee bit as well. Could conceivably leave like the youth at 325.
Yep.
Even these guys could stay the same. I mean, this could all stay. Now, these need to go up. They're playing more golf than the rest of us. They're just putting stress on the golfers than we are. But anyway, and then yeah, so things like here, if this went to 55, I mean, you could leave most of the rest of these defined. The tournament, this might go to 50 and this might go to 55. And this could go to 60, and then you could leave the 9-hole and the youth exactly where they are as well. Something like that. So it's not a fixed. It's a target of 5%. Dan, I think.
Yeah. But you use little common sense in cases where.
Yeah. But I think your tournament rate needs to probably go up a little bit. I still think you'd be way in line with area golf courses with that. Okay. Interesting.
Well, I don't want to speak for everyone, but it certainly seems like there's several of us here who do believe we should raise the rates, and I'd like the across that 5, that target 5% across. I think that is just it's reasonable. Looking at the numbers.
I do think it's going to be an easier argument to make to the membership is with the 5% increase, if we're able to tell them that some sort of steps are trying to be taken to make it a little bit easier for members to get primo weekend tee times and, whatever. I mean, Todd, you gave a bunch of good ideas earlier, but being able to suggest or offer one of those to the membership that, hey, now non-members can't book until, Tuesday or whatever the day is. It at least throws them a little bit of a bone for paying a little bit more money.
All right. Todd, do you have kind of what you need as guidance for preparing those numbers?
I'll write something up.
Cool. So our next meeting date is going to be February 5th.
That's correct.
Any other topics that need discussion?
None here.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Excellent. All those in favor?
aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.
All right, thanks.
Happy holidays to you all.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Happy
Yes.
holidays.
Good night, happy holiday.
Good night.
Thank-
Good night.